new here. We are learning new details about that deadly rampage in Las Vegas. The married couple who gunned down two police officers and a shopper at a Walmart had a history of extremist views seen in multiple videos, all posted online. And then there's this. They apparently had spent some time at Cliven Bundy's ranch as he fought the government over paying to graze his cattle. So Daryl Johnson, let me bring you in, a former senior domestic terrorism analyst at the Department of Homeland Security. He is the CEO of DT Analytics and the author of Right-Wing Resurgence, How a Domestic Terrorist Threat is Being Ignored. Mr. Johnson, good morning.
Good morning, Brooke.
You have spent multiple years studying these domestic terrorist groups, and while we can't link A to B with this specific group or these two individuals in Las Vegas, when you hear these details, when you hear the shooters left a yellow "Don't Tread on Me" flag and a swastika on top of one of the police officers they shot and killed, and a note apparently they pinned warning about the beginning of the revolution, what does that tell you?
Yeah, this is not shocking to me. These are classic symbols for the far-right extremists that we have in the country. It's interesting to note that a lot of people, when they think of terrorism, they think of Al-Qaeda or Hamas or Hezbollah that operate like groups. But here in America, the extremists adopted the tactics of leaderless resistance and lone wolf terrorist tactics. So this is a classic example of domestic terrorism, and the media and our congressional leaders should start calling it that.
I know that you say there should be more done on the federal level, and we'll get to that. But what jumped out at me, you just said it's not shocking. In the years that you studied individuals or groups like this, especially since perhaps, as you point out, having our first African-American president, tougher economic times a couple of years ago, have these instances of extremists increased?
Oh, they've increased dramatically. In 2007, when I was at Homeland Security, the militia movement was on its last legs. We had less than 100 groups that were operating throughout the country. In 2008, that number grew to 150, and by 2010, we had over 300 militia groups. So that just shows you the rapid growth that we've experienced just in a short period of time.
You know, with the possible connection here to Cliven Bundy, who was really the symbol of anti-government, didn't want to pay the federal government for his cattle grazing on their land. Apparently, this couple did go. Thousands of people went, right, as part of that whole movement. Cliven Bundy said he doesn't remember meeting them, but apparently he believes someone did ask them to leave. Just curious, at that time, when that whole scene was really percolating on a national stage, did you fear that maybe some sort of movement, or as a guest said yesterday, a war of extremism would morph out of that?
Yes, the Cliven Bundy standoff is very reminiscent of another standoff we had back in 1992 called Ruby Ridge,
right,
which was in Idaho. And that was a galvanizing event that brought extremists of all stripes together under one common cause and caused people to not only recruit and expand these groups and movements, but also it served as a radicalization node where people saw the heavy hand of the government and therefore may pursue criminal or violent action as a result.
So what do you do about it? What does the federal government do about it? How do they watch for these people?
Well, the first thing we need to do is raise public awareness. A lot of people might think that, two cops getting shot at a pizza place is just the result of a crazed gunman who went in there and just did it as a common criminal act. But it's the belief system that was behind that act that makes it terrorism. And so just increasing public awareness that these acts are domestic terrorism, I think, would go a long way in showing people how serious it is.
Daryl Johnson, appreciate you spending a couple minutes with us here this morning on New Day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chris.
It will